podcast energy. This is great, like late night radio energy. I'm a fan. I would love this as a live stream.
Letter carriers say they've been working for more than 500 days without a contract, and today they made their voices heard on the streets of
USPS failed to protect Eugene Gates and others. Mail carrier robbed at gunpoint.
Yes, are targeting these mail carriers for their universal keys. Nearly 1,200 reported attacks and other assaults on postal workers just last year alone.
The NALC Disaster Relief Foundation was created for NALC members. The purpose of the foundation is to fill a need identified by many branches who have faced disasters, including wildfires, hurricanes, and floods, to name a few. Branches and members who wish to donate supplies and/or uniforms should contact the NALC Disaster Relief Foundation at either the email disasterrelieffoundation@nalc.org or by phone number 202-423-2443. The NALC Disaster Relief Foundation will contact the affected branch to obtain an address for their donations. Each of the 50 states and U.S. territories represented by the NALC membership have been placed in one of 5 zones based on geographical location. An application for the NALC Disaster Relief Foundation assistance is not an application for FEMA or any other disaster assistance. Relief grants are only considered for property damage sustained to a primary residence, vehicle, or personal property, such as, but not limited to, an earthquake, wildfire, tornado, hurricane, flood, or severe storm. All applicants must be a NALC member as defined by the NALC Constitution, Article 2, Section 1A. Members do not have to wait for emergency relief or insurance claims to apply. All members having been temporarily displaced from their primary residence due to it being deemed uninhabitable must submit a signed, personal narrative detailing the specific reasons for and the anticipated duration of the displacement. Applications for grants from the NALC Disaster Relief Foundation must be received no later than 120 days from the date that the natural disaster occurred, unless the applicant can provide sufficient reasons why they were unable to complete and submit the application prior to this deadline. For more information, go to www.nalc.org/disaster.
Hey everyone. Every month I'll try to give 5 minutes to discuss the NALC health benefit plan to help new carriers and also older carriers get through this transition. Please enjoy. New year, new program. The Postal Service Health Benefits PSHB program is a new program within the Federal Employees Health Benefits FEHB program, administered by the Office of Personnel Management, OPM. By now, you should have received your new 2025 PSHB member ID cards. If you were a member in 2024, make sure to throw away your 2024 card, as this one will not be accurate anymore. Also, by now, you should have received a welcome packet sent by the NALC Health Benefit Plan. It will have details on the plan option you selected during open season and offer plan information to help in the months ahead. Should you need to add or remove a dependent, complete an address change,
or establish marriage or divorce documents, you must do so through the new PSHB platform. Previously, the insurance companies could make some of these changes. This is no longer possible. As the PSHB continues to get up and running and members continue to figure out the new platform, OPM and NALC HBP, please stay tuned for more information on all issues and ways this transition is going. Toxic work environment. Something came to my attention that I want to share with the membership. The United States Postal Inspection Service revealed that 201 suicides were reported in its fiscal year 2023, quadrupled the 47 suicides reported by USPS in 2022. It instantly got me thinking, and I immediately Googled NALC suicide. And thankfully, the NALC has been on top of this crisis for years now, from putting out articles in the Postal Record to creating posters for our bulletin boards. If you are a member of the NALC High Option Plan, look into Optum. Optum is a recognized leader in behavioral health care and substance use. To the CCAs and PTFs, I was hired in June 2021 and instantly became aware of how toxic of a workplace the post office can be. From the stressful Sundays to the wicked weeknights, when the bosses are texting you why it's taking you so long to deliver a route you'd never done, to the newly converted regulars being pressured with the bogus 1-hour office time, to the bogus stationary events. You are not alone. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is a national network of local crisis centers that provides free and confidential emotional support to people in suicidal crisis or emotional distress 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in the United States. People can call or text 988 for themselves, or if they are worried about a loved one who may need crisis support. No matter where you live in the United States, you can reach a trained crisis counselor who can help. Shout out to Joey Featherston. All your hard work, unpaid labor, and time, years that you have dedicated to the education on healthcare issues, thank you. Now please enjoy this interview.
So to be clear, I am a union worker. ALU IBT Local 1 has recognition by the government. So, and I've been a union worker. We won our union election April 1st, 2022. So I have been a federally recognized union worker.
It's Next Generation Carriers podcast. My name is Capone. My co-hosts are Chris P. and John Murphy. On today's program, we'll be interviewing Justine Medina, a unionized Amazon warehouse worker and Teamster shop steward who went on strike during the Christmas season.
Next Generation Carriers and guests are individual union members speaking in a personal capacity and do not represent the views of the NALC, the United States Postal Service, or any other entity that has spoken on this program.
My name is James Capone. I go by Capone. I am an 18-year letter carrier out of Dedham, Massachusetts, and shop steward out of branch 764 of the NALC.
Chris Presampieri, no one can pronounce it, so I go by Chris P. Or Chris McGiddley if you see me on Discord. Going on a 9-year letter carrier. I previously was a worker organizer at FedEx Ground in 2011. I tried to lead the first union drive at FedEx Ground in Brockton, Massachusetts. So it's kind of what I'll be talking to Justine about, because I do know what it's like to go up against a multi-billion-dollar corporation and go through union busting. Mm-hmm. After that, I work with SEIU Local 509 and Teamsters Local 653 in various capacities. And right now, I'm on the bylaws committee for Branch 18 here in southeastern Massachusetts.
My name is John Murphy. I'm a city letter carrier out of Naples, Florida.
My name is Justine Medina. I'm a 3-year Amazon worker at JFK 8, Staten Island, and a shop steward with ALU IBT Local 1, Amazon Labor Union IBT Local 1. It is the union of Amazon workers at JFK 8, the warehouse on Staten Island. Very powerful to go on strike, to walk out of the facility together as workers, to face the wall of cops that Amazon had called into the parking lot, walk past them, walk out into the elements. It was freezing. We did a picket line for 3 days at my facility, and it was like 12 degrees some of the time. I was there for most of the 72 hours. It was an intense battle, and it felt very powerful to be out there with my coworkers and with my comrades, fighting for our rights, fighting against Amazon, fighting against the thugs that they got to intimidate us, right? And it felt very powerful being out on the line with hundreds of other workers and chanting together and dancing together to stay warm, and felt really powerful as the trucks came by honking in solidarity. It felt really powerful to know that at 9 other facilities around the country, there were Amazon workers at all of those facilities, putting their bodies on the line to fight back. And this was the first time I've had the privilege to go out on the battle lines like that and go on strike. And it felt really powerful. And it felt really powerful to go back into the facility after and show our coworkers, we're still here, we're still working, we're still on the shop floor, we didn't get fired, they're lying to you, we have the power here if we come together. Yeah, it continues to feel really powerful, and we brought in new activists into the union through the strike. There's a lot more workers who are involved in the union now and want to help it grow, and are going to make the union stronger and make the next action even bigger and cost them even more money and cause them even more headache and force them to the table.
You work for one of the richest corporations in the world, for one of the world's wealthiest men. Why a union, and why isn't he paying you a living wage, considering he is the world's richest man and one of the wealthiest corporations? So why that?
Yeah, why a union? Well, you just answered it yourself right there, Chris. It's one of the wealthiest companies in the world, one of the richest men in human history, and he refuses to pay Amazon workers who create that wealth enough to pay their rent, send their kids to school, get food on the table, pay their hospital bills. We really need a union, and a fighting union and worker-led union at Amazon. Not just for Amazon workers, but I would say for the entire working class right now.
Yeah, exactly. So one question too. The ALU and the Teamsters, are they working? Is it officially I know it was Chris Smalls and ALU first, and then the Teamsters affiliate later. Is it a joint thing, or is it separate? How is it? Because I see you got a Teamster hat on. So
I do have a Teamster hat on. Yeah, so last summer, the Amazon Labor Union voted to affiliate with the Teamsters. So it's Amazon Labor Union, International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Local 1. And as part of the affiliation agreement, there's the potential for there to be in future warehouses ALU IBT Local 2, 3, 4, 805, whatever people want, right? It's, at warehouses that are 1,000 or more workers, those Amazon workers would have the ability to unionize under the new ALU IBT, or to affiliate with the Teamster if there's an existing Teamsters local. But it's up to the workers on the shop floor how they want to try to organize their shop. Underneath the Amazon division in the Teamsters, there are workers' committees and Amazon facilities that are drivers' facilities that are unionizing, that have gotten more than 50% of the unit to sign cards, So Amazon's obligated to continue forward in the process. They are not. They're just refusing to follow the process. But of course, it's not just the Teamsters. I know APWU has some shops that they're working with Amazon workers in. There's other independent unionization projects like Cause in the Carolinas, right? So there's
Retail Workers Union, I believe, is one of them.
Yeah, RWDSU down in Bessemer. They won the right to another election, right? So there's a lot of unions. We're all working together to fight against Amazon, and that's what it'll take.
What kind of resources have the Teamsters send? They send organizers? Is it? I know it has to start internally with card check, obviously, but what kind of? Have they been sending a lot of resources, a lot of organizers, standouts with you, or anything? Have they done that
since the affiliation?
Yeah.
There are staff organizers who we work with, but we are a very autonomous local, and we are very much led by the workers at JFK 8. Our executive board is all current or some former workers who were fired for organizing and are in court in the ULP process, like trying to get their jobs back. But in the meantime, still full-time organizing with their lives. So ALU from the beginning has, it started out as an independent effort. So part of the ethos really has been the rank and file, shop floor led worker to worker efforts. And that's still very much it's an essential part of all of our organizing. We're on the shop floor every day right now, struggling against management and against the bosses. Even though we haven't gotten to the part of even beginning bargaining, right? So we don't have a contract. We're still very active on the shop floor, demanding our rights be recognized, doing petitions and marches on the bosses very, very frequently, with varying success, of course, but the agitation is strong. The way that we can present our grievances to Amazon, oftentimes we'll get a big petition going, and then we'll deliver it collectively as a group. We did a number of marches on the boss last summer when the heat was so bad that workers were passing out on the floor. We, a group of a few dozen people get together and go and demand that something be done about it and present our grievance on behalf of the collective and on behalf of other workers. And of course, Amazon wants to say, "Oh, we have this open door policy." So they'll meet with us, but then they're also like, but we only want to have these one-on-one conversations. It's like they don't want to do a collective thing. So
it's a very narrow door for one person.
Narrow door.
A lot of times here, postmasters have an open door policy.
Yep.
It's crazy, but we did, we did assert our rights and demand that workers be able to take breaks when they needed in the sweltering heat, which they were able to go sit in the air conditioned area for a few minutes at a time if they talked to their management, and we made sure that that was enforced and that no one was getting written up for it. But it was a very real safety issue, and they installed new fans in response to these marches. And also last year, we did a petition with over 1,000 Amazon workers at the facility signing, saying that something be done about the bus service, demanding a shuttle bus service be implemented, and we're still waiting on that demand to be followed through with. But
that's a lot of money. I don't know.
Can they afford that? They don't want to. I don't know. Well, they say they can't, but they do these shuttle bus services to help people get to work at other facilities.
God. Now, what opposition have you dealt with from other Amazon employees not getting the idea of unionizing, and what would you say to them to help them understand I know that there's been a couple of votes in other warehouses that have kind of been closer than would be preferred. So again, like, what are the things you hear from the people you talk to that are not for it, and what would you say to them to make them understand what you're fighting for?
I mean, first and foremost, like we always tell people, our fellow coworkers, that we're fighting for them. You know, like with this strike that just happened over Christmas, 10 facilities underneath the Teamsters umbrella who Amazon has an obligation to bargain with had workers that went out on strike. And at JFK 8, we had hundreds of workers out on the picket line. Now, of course, it's a facility of 5 to 6,000 workers at any given time, so not everyone came out. We knew that people are scared. You know, classic problem. They don't want to get fired, right? None of us have been fired. The hundreds of people that went out, Amazon hasn't done a thing, and they're not going to, because they know that it's illegal. They know it would be against our rights, and they know that we're not gonna stand for that. So we're in there fighting, and we always tell the workers who aren't yet ready to be involved in the union, you know, we tell them like, hey, that's your choice, but this is how we're going to be able to make the workplace better for all of us, and we're fighting for you. So that's the main thing. It takes a lot of conversations. You know, sometimes, as you guys know, in union organizing, it can take 5, 10, 15, 20 conversations, and then years later, someone comes around, and then they become a stalwart union activist, right? I think that is the power of you know, having that goodwill towards our fellow workers, and just continuing to show up and show out and fight for each other. And we always give people resources. We say, hey, drop by the union hall right down the street if you have any questions. Here's resources for fighting to get transferred to the right department, for getting the disability accommodations you need, for fighting an unjust termination. If you have any problems, like, we will fight with you. We will fight for you alongside with you. You know, we have a robust network inside of stewards and activists who will go to HR with people, go to management with people. So really, for us, it's all about just walking the talk and doing what we say we'll do. Yeah, any worker, no matter how they feel about the union, you know, they're not the enemy, right? Our common enemy is the boss, and so we're always trying to live that life and make sure people understand that.
Union members I deal with, younger ones or guys that don't get it yet, it's a lackadaisical approach, because they look at it as, I work, I get paid. They don't understand that the rights that they have were fought, and by giving up those rights or not exceeding those rights, they can be taken away. Everything we've got, we gave up something to get, and that's a tough thing for guys to fully grasp and understand. You know, and along with getting people to see the union, you saying sometimes takes 10, 15 conversations. One of the things I always say to my branch members is, you find the union when you see the light or you feel the heat. One of
Mhm.
those two things will bring you to the door. And more often than not, that's usually what happens. Once they start getting their ass ridden by bosses, then they'll get involved. And I've had carriers that have been there 20 years that never had a situation, that were great carriers, and then they can't do something one time, and the bosses are on their asses. And then they want to come find us. And the point of showing that no matter what, we'll always fight. You can be
Yeah.
somebody who's never used us for 20 years and just kind of, you paid your dues and did your thing. We will still be in that room fighting for you. Everybody, it does not matter.
Yeah, at my facility, there's between 5 to 6,000 workers employed at any given time. So describing the facility, I think first, you must understand it is very large. It is. I think it might be the largest fulfillment center in the United States. It's, you know, many football fields wide, 4 stories. You enter into the facility, and it's it's loud and it's way too bright. Just sort of bright white lights sort of on at all times. In order to get inside, after you get through the sort of front door vestibule area, there are turnstile gates that ceiling floor to ceiling, that you have to badge in to be able to enter the warehouse. There are a dozen different departments that you go to, that you report to, on one of the, usually either the first or the third floors where you would start, and then you might be sent somewhere else. But there's like inbound departments that receive objects, and outbound departments and ship dock, and sort of different processing things throughout the assembly line process. If you clock in at the start of shift, everyone reports to what's called stand up, which is where some floor managers and also PAs, process associates, they're basically sort of shift leads. They're in the unit, they're hourly, but they do a lot of management of other workers on the floor, probably more management than the actual managers.
204Bs, we kind of have those too, the worker manager kind of hybrids.
Well, yeah, but I do want to stress, like, there are fellow it's not a
they don't have the ability to hire and fire anybody.
Yeah, there's no yeah.
Sort of like our 204Bs, sorta. Yeah, like
sorta,
that. They carry mail sometimes, but they can kind of sort of. But they're in our bargaining unit too.
Like a squad leader in the military, something like that. Who's
sort
one
of
the grunts, but he's in charge of the other grunts. Idea.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And it's important because PAs are often doing much more work than the managers, of course, right? So they have a lot of
glorified workers. Yeah.
They don't get the respect they deserve. They don't get the pay they deserve for the work that they do. A lot of them are sort of strung along with promises to move up that will never happen. Mm-hmm. It's a sort of thankless role. Anyway, you report for assignment, but also oftentimes Amazon will just send you a text to your phone with the station that you go to, depending on the department you're in. So you just bypass getting assigned because everything is really computerized. You asked if we have a scanner, and most roles do have scanners, but all roles are at least at a station with a scanner, and your productivity is clocked scan to scan. How much you're supposed to be, on station, things like this. Like if you're away from station for 5 minutes or more, then it starts tracking against you. You can get what's called TOT, time off task. If you accrue a certain amount of that, you get certain points, you can get fired. Some of this has been helpfully complicated by legal protections we've fought, like legislative protections that we've got passed in New York. So it's made it harder, like more protections around, bathroom breaks and water breaks being protected. And we just got signed into law, another law, the Warehouse Injury Reduction Act, which will put even more rights into place that we can call upon to complicate the sort of evil machinations that Amazon tries to put into place.
So legislators are working with you guys and getting involved in regards to passing things to protect you.
We've helped. I mean, it's been a fight, but we've helped the state senators that have worked on this, help them draft the legislation. The whole Amazon
That's awesome.
The Amazon Coalition New York has been really active with that. And then our governor was refusing to sign this legislation, but the strike got her to sign it. So Amazon didn't come to the table, but Governor Kathy Hochul signed the law. So strikes, of course, have many benefits in this way. Can put a lot of pressure on a lot of different people to help the working class.
Wow, so workers can withhold their labor to get a material benefit, huh? That sounds amazing. I like that. This is what a concept we live in. Wow.
In Massachusetts, we just passed, it was question 3, which allowed the ability for drivers, Lyft, Uber, the ability to unionize.
Right. Because they were independent contractors.
Yeah,
so
and I know that's one of the arguments Amazon is used against, at least the drivers. Warehouse guys, you aren't considered independent workers, right?
We're not considered independent workers. Amazon throws everything in the book against us that they can. But yes, that is the claim they like to use against the drivers, even though Amazon controls literally everything about those drivers' lives.
That
The
doesn't
trucks,
sound independent to me.
their
I don't know.
clothes, their hours. They go into the facility to clock in. Like it's all just a shell game they like to play to try to, get rid of their liability. But they control literally everything about the drivers. I mean, within the trucks, Amazon is a surveillance company. They're a tech company, right? So they have their cameras in the trucks watching everything the drivers do, and you can be penalized for going too slow, going too fast, looking the wrong direction, all sorts of crazy AI computer monitored things. And that doesn't sound very independent contractor life to
And they
me.
probably never even meet the supposed independent contractor they work for, or contact them, whatever the parent company that supposedly is contracting them out to Amazon. I imagine they barely have any interaction with that company. It sounds like most of their interaction is through Amazon.
I mean, I can't speak to the day-to-day specifics, but Amazon definitely is the boss controlling the show.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like when we were at FedEx, same thing at FedEx. So we're FedEx Ground. There's three FedEx Express, FedEx Ground, or whatever. So the whole thing with us when I was a warehouse worker. So we load all the packages that come in off the trucks, we load them into things and they get sent out across the country. But those drivers also were independent contractors. But everything you said about Amazon, the FedEx Ground drivers had the same thing. Uniforms, everything had to be done that way. But they couldn't deny the warehouse workers. Like our paycheck says FedEx Ground, yours says like there's no denying it. If they could come up with a way, they would try. Trust me. But like that's the whole thing. Like, and they actually use the law. So FedEx Express, they're the one. Everybody who works for Express, because they're a billionaire and corporations own it, they are actually technically considered an airline, which means they're not covered by the NLRB. So if you're a warehouse worker or a driver, technically they want to call you an airline because they fly airplane, because that's it. So they changed, like I said, they changed the law so everybody's covered. And I'm surprised Jeff Bezos hasn't tried that yet with everybody. But
I'm surprised also with the Air Hub, because
I know.
one of the unionizing facilities, KCVG in Kentucky, they're an Air Hub, and there's another Air Hub in California as well that's in the Amazon division, and so it's but they try everything. They're gonna throw everything at the wall.
By now. Yeah, because it's the Railway Act covering those people. Yeah, the airline. Even though you drive a truck around Boston all day, you're not flying a plane.
Whatever they try to do, though, whatever administration is in office, they're going to try to find ways to screw over the workers, and we're going to keep fighting back. The only, it's always been, even when you can wield the law on your side, which we try to as best as we can, it's always been about the shop floor organization and fight back.
So when you talk about like bathroom breaks, water breaks, and TOTs, the time off tasks, is that all in a reflection of management tracking you through your scanners on GPS? Like if you go to the bathroom for too long, does that alert management? Or if you're like on the wrong side of the office for too long, does that alert management? And does that lead to like in the post office, we have an investigative interview. With Amazon, I assume you guys might have the same thing where management pulls you aside and asks you questions regarding your activity.
Absolutely. If you're away from your station for quote unquote too long, you can get a documented coaching, you can get a write up, depending on how many coachings you've had recently and how they've been rewriting the rules, because Amazon is always rewriting their policies, particularly as a union busting tool, sort of increasing the length of time that a coaching or a write-up stays on your record, and finding ways to want to make it easier for people to get fired. You get pulled aside, you could ask questions. But the thing is, the trick Amazon likes to pull is you don't get pulled aside and ask questions. Sometimes for weeks later, they'll pull it up, and so
does that as well.
you have no way to know what was happening. So we often will advise people, if they want to be extra careful, to really just keep track, keep a paper record. Like if you're going to the bathroom, or if you're going to talk to HR, or if you're going to do some other activity that is protected, not just legally, but by Amazon's own policies, if you know the policies well enough, that if you have that documentation, then you can use it to push back against what they're trying. Or oftentimes they won't necessarily get you on TOT, but what they'll do is your productivity rate is affected because you're away in the bathroom, or you're away having conversations with management, or you're or you're at AmCare, which is the company doctor, so to speak. There's no actual, it's not
doctor in quotation marks. Yeah,
doctor's generous.
Yeah.
But
Dr. Hutz. Yeah.
But it's it will mess with your rate, because the rate is a calculation of like dividing everyone's work divided by a certain amount of time, and so like it can mess with you. But if you document it properly, then you can fight back against being placed in the lowest rung of productivity, which can just sort of happen automatically if you're having a lot of issues or something. So yeah, it's all kinds of really diabolical AI, automatic computer BS to try to mess with workers and get them fired, and as union busting. And then also, that's just part of the Amazon model. I mean, Jeff Bezos has admitted this. He doesn't think people should be working at Amazon for more than a few years, so they designed the program to kick you out.
Move on. And that's, a thing to key on of why a union is so important. We do have stationary events, but we have protections in our contract to protect us from it. So, and they've been trying to chip those protections down. But ideally is, as John said, they have to come out and see you not working. They can't just use the GPS satellite, because
that's literally in the contract. You have to observe. That's the other thing too. So that's it. It is in our contract, right?
GPS can be faulty. It's not always guaranteed. Anything can happen. And one of the things we always tell carriers is, hey, they don't want to come out and watch you and do their job, and they ask you what you're doing, you tell them you're working.
Bingo.
Because in the end, us using the bathroom, us, organizing our mail, us scraping shit off the bottom of our shoes, that is all part of our daily job. That's part of
absolutely
working outdoors. That is working. We are
absolutely
doing what we're supposed to be doing. But they will always try to catch you in something, as I'm sure Amazon does as well. But not having that union protection to be able to have somebody go in there and go, well, wait a minute, you can't do it unless you do it this way. And you know what? Okay, you're going to write them up. Well, we're going to grieve that, and we're going to fight it. Mm-hmm. And that's sometimes what I wish these guys that don't understand the point of the union, that is the key point. I'm sure when you don't have a union, it comes down to what they say. They say you were sitting for 5 minutes. We're going to dock you. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. That's what goes. There's no arguing it.
There's no appeal process to it at Amazon, which sounds pretty bad. Like you can't, there's no way to be like, because like I said, what were you doing? I was working. Well, I was working. Prove it. The burden of proof is on management, which is great. That's why Amazon doesn't want a union, because they have to prove it. Like, and going back weeks is insane. Like if my boss said, "What did you do 3 weeks ago?" Am I required to remember what I did 3 weeks ago? And I don't know. Like, I just can't believe that's how bad it is in there. And they actually do that for weeks ago, because no one remembers. I don't know what the hell I ate for breakfast this morning. And
the sad part of having to micromanage, where you have to tell people to write down what they're doing just in
case. I went to the bathroom
to be protected. Yeah.
I mean, I wish people could understand. Like, just imagine if in your regular day you had to write down every time you went to the bathroom, every time you had to go get water, and how long you did. And that's what these Amazon workers are dealing with in the warehouse. And
that's the only way to provide any sort of evidence of documentation. It's like, no, here's my documentation.
And I would hope that, when the Teamsters and the union get in there, they fight the AI technology. One of the smart things that the ship dock workers were fighting, which I believe they're still fighting, they worked on their contract, but part of that they were asking was to control AI technology. Because these corporations want to bring in AI technology to watch us and to take jobs away from us. And controlling and protecting AI technology from taking our jobs is a huge thing, which is why unionization and getting these people to unionize is huge, because all it's going to take is AI technology to come in and take your job. And if we don't have protections, you won't have a job. And they all want us to be paid minimum wage. They don't want us moving up in this world. They want
minimum wage. Minimum wage is too much. Yeah.
They want to make millions and millions and millions more. We used to have dispersion of wealth of 50%. It's no longer 50%. I believe it was close to 20%. Head corporations getting 80%, the workers getting 20%. They want that lower. They make more and more. They're not going to pass it down the hill to us. They want to keep making more. It's not like it was, 30, 40, 50 years ago where a corporation who did that would be frowned upon, and you're not paying your employees, or we're not going to use you.
But why was that? It was because of the power of unions. Like people forget. People are like, what happened to the good old days? And it's like, well, there weren't really any good old days, but also to the extent that there were, that was fought for tooth and nail by working class militants.
Yeah, workers died fighting these. Like that was like these were paid in blood. Yes. Like not like they had a street in the look at the labor movement in the 30s. It was a violent time.
So
that was it.
It's still a violent time though, right? I mean, postal workers, letter carriers die in the trucks. Amazon workers die on the shop floor, right? That violence never went away.
A lot of guys, I explained this to my sergeant of arms, when he became a sergeant of arms. The history of a sergeant of arms is the reason he's called that is because he was in charge of the weapons for when they had these strikes and you brought in union breakers and they would bring in guys with bats to break up the lines. The sergeant of arms was the one who was in charge of arming the union workers. That is a quote back to the violence of our history, how to fight for our rights, you had to stand out there and you had somebody swinging a bat at you. You had people putting guns to you. Companies were known for hiring mobsters. Al Capone, one of the biggest mobsters in the world, started as a union buster. That is what they would do. And they would put our lives in danger. And to think that guys fought so hard, men and women fought so hard, put their lives on the line for us to have the rights we have today. And then you see this lackadaisical approach from people who just don't want to get involved because it takes too much time or energy from them.
What can postal workers do? I mean, postal workers should, any Amazon worker they run into, talk to them about the conditions and the shared struggle. There's going to be a lot of overlap of understanding. Whether it's the driver side or the delivery side or the warehouse side, there's a lot of overlap in the logistics and delivery sector. With shared stories. When I've talked with postal workers in any of the various postal unions, there's a lot of relatability there. And then I'd say encourage. If it's drivers, encourage them to check out the Amazon division of the Teamsters, because Amazon wants to control the whole world. They want to control the logistics industry. They want to, it's crazy, right? Like some days it seems like they want to get rid of the post office, but some days it seems like they just want to hire the post office to do all of their deliveries. I'm not really sure, it's like, which is it?
They don't know either. No one.
No one knows.
No. No one's steering the ship. We're going to be privatized. We're not going to be privatized. And we're going to kind of privatize.
A big thing people got to understand, as John was saying, like this is actually a battle for us letter carriers as well for you guys.
It
You
is.
know,
Yeah.
one of the things when they do our contract, we have to get paid as close to our nearest competitor. So they always make the argument that Amazon is our nearest competitor, not UPS. And they'll use based on what you guys make to try to say shouldn't get paid more. On top of that, any union fight is our fight.
Right.
On top of that, you know, the more rights they chip away from you guys, other companies will follow that model and chip away those rights. If
Absolutely.
you guys are getting paid good and you guys are getting treated fairly, that's a win for all union workers. And that's
Right.
every union worker should be invested in Amazon's plight.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
and Amazon, they're not just trying to take over all of the logistics industry, though they are. You know, it's the tech industries, the AWS side of things.
Which
There are
is
various
hugely that's a major source
hugely
of profit.
profitable. Oh yeah, oh yeah. And then also their government and military contracts around the world. You know, there's getting into you know, they own Whole Foods, right? Like Jeff Bezos is getting into
Space.
the renters market speculation, space industry, right? Like they want to own and control everything. And so I think yeah, just sharing that struggle with each other and with any Amazon workers that you run into, and then yeah, talk to them about the union fight and about the union fight happening in Amazon, and even if they're a little skeptical, you know, every conversation helps, and maybe they're not skeptical, maybe they've just been waiting for someone to tell them about it and they didn't know, and they immediately want to get involved, you know. At Staten Island though, they just like messing with us because we're unionized, so they don't want to do any of it. But the thing is, like, workers, so I work on Staten Island. I live in Harlem. It takes me 2 to 3 hours each way to get to work.
Holy crap.
Half of the facility, you know, lives off of Staten Island, so they're having these really long commute times, and that's on top of most people are working 10, 11, 12-hour shifts.
It's going to affect your productivity. I mean, for Amazon,
Absolutely.
it's a waste of their plan. And
Wait. Rewind. You just said most people are working 10 to 12-hour shifts?
Yes.
With a 2-hour commute both ways. I mean, we're talking about 16-hour days.
Yeah,
just
16
held
to
up by
18-hour
work.
days. And a lot of people at Amazon, because they're not making enough, you know, like I make the max that you can make as a tier 1 worker, which is 24, 25 an hour, and so I'm taking home like 21 an hour. You know, a lot of workers are working other jobs on top of that too. So there's a lot of my coworkers who they get like 1 to 2 hours of sleep every day, and they can't even, and they get 1 to 2 hours of sleep every day, and they're living in a homeless shelter.
One of the biggest fights of the unions has always been 8 hours work, 8 hours recreation, 8 hours sleep. Because that is what you need to be a productive member. And going back to Henry Ford, putting the 40-hour week and the weekend off, because of the productivity you can get out of employees. You don't work them to the bone and then get mad you don't get any productivity. The fact you guys have to fight for the ability to not pass out on the floor, to sit in air conditioning and have to march is insane in the United States of America, that any corporation has ever been allowed to get away with that. And there has not been eyes on that corporation. OSHA, National Labor Board, everybody getting involved in this. It is insane that stuff was allowed to happen. And it took you guys having to march to get those rights.
Yeah. And we're still marching. You know, we're going to keep fighting till we get them, until we get that contract. It's coming.
Good.
Right,
you guys deserve it.
All right, so I'll just say I have like 10 more questions, but I know you have another interview after this, so I just want to thank you for all of it. Thank you for coming on to our first podcast. It sounds cool if it's an interview. What I just say interview. You're going on an interview. All right, you're going on a call, but I know it's tough being an organizer, doing all this. I know it's a thankless job. I know you're probably tired from everything you're doing, but honestly, you're an inspiration to all of us here. My coworkers do talk about it here in Massachusetts. It does get brought up. people do know about it. So you're making national headlines. Every carrier is talking about it. And we see how poorly treated the drivers are day to day. We see, like I said, we're not we joke like they're running on the wrong side of the road. I don't know how bad they're being grilled. And I you see us, like we walk at a pace. I don't know how, but like they're running, they look lost. I've seen literally 3 car accidents from Amazon Drive. The subcontractors get it way worse. Like the independent, they're just out there like lost driving around.
Overworked,
and I never see the same guy. And I never see the same guy twice.
Yeah,
they burn him out quick. So like you guys definitely need a union. Your victory is our victory. So we're pulling for you. I know I'll talk to Amazon drivers now. Maybe make some flyers. I mean, I will never hand out Amazon pro union flyers to Amazon workers on company time. But if one happens to find their way there, that's great. But honestly, though, so thank you. I got some work to do too. So thank you for coming on.
Was there any shout outs you want to do? Say hello to anybody or any of your fellow employees?
Shouting out the amazing leadership of my E-Board and ALU IBT Local 1, Connor Spence, Remus Hilla, Sultana Hussein, Kathleen Cole. They're amazing leaders. I'm very proud to fight alongside them and all of my coworkers. And solidarity to all of you. And I look forward to more conversations like this and being in struggle together.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
There is a chance Jeff Bezos might be listening right now. If Jeff Bezos was tuning in to the new Next Generation Carrier podcast, what message would you say to him right now? Because he might be listening.
Follow the law. Come to the table. Negotiate a contract.
That is great. And PG. All right, great. That's better than I'd ever do. All right, so thank you, Justine. Appreciate it. And hopefully we'll have you back on soon to talk about how you guys won and everything great. So we're ready. All right. Awesome. Thanks for coming on.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Talk soon.
All right.
For more Next Generation Carriers, follow us on TikTok, subscribe to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and give us a like on Facebook.
Either way, the working class is the greatest class. So either way, it's the same message. So right on.
This strike is a warning to Jeff Bezos and all billionaires out there. We're coming for you.
We make them the money. If we're not in there, they're making nothing. Jeff Bezos thinks he is a king, and we are here to tell him that we are the ones that make their wealth.
You are just a number. They care more about your rate than your life. No matter how much you bleed and break your body for this company, they will step right over you the second you fall.
Now we're at the point where we're not asking anymore, we're demanding 1.2 million Teamsters behind you around the country.
They think that we're joking. We're not joking.
How
many of you have been injured for asking? Yeah, I see a lot of hands.
When you take down a corporation like Amazon, every other corporation falls in line.
Amazon is a $2 trillion corporation, and they will come to the table with you.
Jeff Bezos never won $100 billion.
Jeff, your days are numbered, and we're getting you to the table whether you like it or not.
You're doing the right thing. We stand with you.
We are showing working class, the fair fight is not turning below. This is just the beginning.
Their time is coming. We are Amazon Teamsters.
We demand safe jobs and fair pay. We demand that Amazon end its unfair labor practices.
Amazon, it's time to negotiate.
Join us.
Join us.
When we fight,
we win.
When we fight,
we win.
When we fight. You could talk to Jeff Bezos. What would you say to him?
Well, is this PG or R-rated?